Hello, 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 my lovely radio listeners. This is your host, CDR, this evening, and this is the interview with Bob Tulipan. He's the author of the new rock and roll book that's out on the shelves right now. He's going on a book tour, including doing seminars and things like that. So here, without further ado, is Bob Tulipan.
Hi, I'm Bob Tulipan. I have been in the music business, managing bands, producing events, coordinating tours, working at all different sides for labels, in artist development, and helping to nurture the careers of small bands as well as help facilitate touring and other career aspects for major artists. And also, I also worked in film, music-related films with the Rolling Stones, yes, and several other groups.
Wow.
And I have been asked by Sterling, which is owned by Barnes & Noble. It's a publishing house. I was asked to write a book to help new bands in the changing industry.
All right, so it kind of seems like you've hit all the major mediums in music industry.
Yeah, I had a really broad-based career that luckily gave me an extraordinary life. But it gave me a lot of experience. But more than that, it gave me a perspective that I'm so happy. I never knew this is where the road would go.
Well, I'm sure you have lots of things to share with us. Right now, what are your projects that you're working on right now?
Other than this, well, it's interesting. What I'm doing with the book is really interesting. I have my first event with the book. I love facilitating art and really helping. To me, I've always been, even as a manager, more a creative force as a creative director rather than a business-first type of guy. So I really like helping the process. So what I'm doing, rather than go to bookstores and do readings, I'm having little seminars where I bring in people from the industry, different sides of the industry, and artists. And I'm doing one in New York next Monday, where I have the label manager at XL Records. That's the indie label that has Adele and Vampire Weekend, an agent, and I have the head of the New Music Seminar, which is a great event that takes place here in New York. And I also have a guy who discovered Avril Lavigne, and he has a thing called Major Label Scout, which is a group of, he has 500 kids all around the world that find bands and turn them on to it. And then I'm bringing a band in from England called Strange Fruit, and they're going to debut. So I think this is really fun to really let people learn from people who are doing things. So even the book, it's not just about me. It was every time there was a point that we discussed in the book, I had people basically explain from their points of view, people in the industry, whether it's artists or executives or A&R people or lawyers or managers, to really provide information and resource for new and developing artists, as well as artists that have to change with the times of the industry. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of, I'm busy with that. And then I'm working on, we just did a major festival this summer in the Hamptons out here in Long Island called Escape to New York. So I love doing that. And that was about new music and experience and kind of like a mini Coachella type of thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. I can't wait to read the book.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, you know what's great in the book, too? There's about 30 pages of just resources listing all the different websites that are doing things today, and so people have an idea of what's there. Plus, there's lots of tools, which include sample contracts and tour guide sheets and how to do financial breakdowns and just loads and loads and loads of information. So it's not just like a big narrative or a vanity piece. It's something you can use. And what I'm really happy about now, libraries all around the world are starting to get the book as well. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool. So it becomes my favorite thing is there was I got a letter through I have a website and offer free downloads, and I invite bands to really come to rockininaneworld.com and post their music and have a few thousand fans all around the world. And what I love, though, is bands have been writing me through the website asking for advice, and they're saying, "Well, here's somebody that we can talk to," and they're writing me and asking me questions like I was one of the band. So I just love that.
That's always a great feeling. I'm partially in the music industry, not as deep as you are. I hope to be one day, though.
Oh, good. Well, let me help you where I can. We're happy to.
All right, sounds good. But it's always a great feeling when you know that you're helping someone along with their art too, and through that they kind of help you out as well. I just think it's a wonderful feeling. So.
Yeah, I mean, and this book for me is really like a give back. I've had through hard work, and not that I loved every single day, but I was able to be successful through perseverance, which is a big part of it as well, and not afraid to roll up my sleeves. But through hard work, I had a good life and became successful. And this, to me, is I'm kind of giving back to everyone to help the future. And I love that part of it. I really love that part of it. And there's so much good music out today, isn't there?
Oh yes, There's so many different genres out there, and just so many different ways to hear artists, either through, YouTube or an internet website or even iTunes. iTunes will give you suggestions on different bands that you might like. So it's a massive network.
Oh, exactly. And streaming and, but at the same time, and the book deals with it as well as the sources to earn money for artists has changed a lot. And so we also give people some info on that and perspective from managers. Like I have the manager of MGMT is in the book, and he tells people about how to really utilize the internet and the social networks, as well as Kid Cudi and Green Lantern's managers there, and they do the same type of thing. And people from labels also say how they look at bands' websites. So bands have to get really savvy today and have somebody working with them to utilize all of the social networks and have a good website. And the real key is to get to their fans and keep their fans excited.
Oh, definitely. Why don't we start into how you began on this journey of the music industry and why?
It's interesting is that I think I wanted to be a cowboy singer when I was probably about 8 years old. I wanted to be Roy Rogers. And so I always had a fascination about music and also about performance. And when I was in school, I got involved with doing concerts because we had a very active, I went to University of Miami, we had a very active student center, and there were a lot of shows going on. And then I wound up getting involved right from school with some touring bands and with bands, regional bands that in Florida. And then I moved back up to New York, where I come from, the New York area. I come from New Jersey. And came up with an artist and made my first record deal for her. Just went on from there. And it's been a long time. But it's and not always easy, but I kept on thinking, where I had a long-term goal. I really wanted to do this, and I persevered. I just put effort in, and big parts of networking now, how people have to meet other people as they go along and try to be friendly, but also learn from people and put themselves in the environment. If you want to be a band or you want to be a musician, you have to be where other musicians are or other bands are. And connect with them. You have to actually network, as they say.
Definitely. Obviously, in the Northland here, there's a massive underground art scene. Did you find that where you were living too, and did you find that really helped you, get your foot through the door and kind of through the threshold, so to speak?
It sure did. At the same time, it's always been my kind of, what should we say, kind of my first love. I really like doing things that are progressive, because anybody can do what happened yesterday. I like putting new spins on things. So to me, I love a lot of the underground and, alternative, or however we want to label them, scenes, because there's fresh things coming through. And at the same time, it doesn't mean that we should never listen to everything else or disrespect it. But it's great to really learn and see what's going on and be ahead of the pack rather than following it. Mm-hmm. And so part of that is being in your environment. And oftentimes, even if you're not in a major city, sometimes there's a college nearby and there's local scenes. And now with the internet, people communicate with others all around the world and have access to music and scenes that are happening that they wouldn't have before because of the vast geography. I'll give you another good part of that. When I was on the road back, I used to manage the Psychedelic Furs and Public Image Limited, Johnny Rotten's band after Sex Pistols. And when we used to tour these bands in the 80s, we would basically go to the major cities, but then also there were college scenes that were happening in various towns that had really cool music. And, for example, Austin, which is now so big with South by Southwest, that was like the only place we'd play in Texas. Mm-hmm. And Minneapolis, was a great town, right, for music. I mean, you had Prince, and you had the 7th Street was at the main club and the other club, but you didn't just have to be in Chicago. You could be in Minneapolis, and then I'm sure there were so many other cities too. A lot of times where the colleges are, and now again, there were sometimes it just takes one good DJ like you. It's like one DJ that finds some cool music, and all of a sudden a scene develops. Mm-hmm.
Definitely, it definitely does. Now we've got all these different artists coming in and asking to be in, and I've got record reps pointing me in the direction of interviews like you, and it just propels itself from there, which I feel pretty proud about. But
oh yeah, no, that's fantastic. The woman I've been living with for a long time, we kind of, I guess we call it common law wife. Mm-hmm. I met her. She was a college DJ and had a progressive radio show at Montclair State College in New Jersey, about 15 miles west of Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And I met her at a college entertainment conference where I was representing some acts. We were looking to book shows into the colleges. But she had this cool radio show called The Permanent Wave. And even though the station was only 5 or 10 watts, they did a playlist that they sent out to about 200 schools and to the record labels. Mm-hmm. And later, when I was managing all of these bands, we would come out and do interviews with her and play shows sometimes for her station. And in the studio, we'd play a few songs, or at the college, because of the playlist. So her school really helped us because it helped with other college radio. Mm-hmm. And, little radio, it doesn't matter where, and especially today with satellite potentials and internet radio, it's such an important thing, and people get it and can hear it, and it just takes the DJs that really care about it and a few of the station managers and everyone else to allow them to have some flexibility in the playlist, huh?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Oh, yeah. I will agree with that one. Speaking of internet radio and just YouTube and social networking and things like that, I've spoken to many different artists across the stream, some that are as young as I am and some that are quite a bit older. And, everybody has a different reaction to it when I ask, do you think social networking has hindered, music in the vast sense of being music, or has it helped it out? I guess from a producer's standpoint, I'd like to get your view on that, if I could.
Well, what's interesting is I think it's wonderful from the point for the consumer, because the consumer, and with also things like streaming, which threaten radio itself in many ways, but the potential for the content on is vast. Mm-hmm. So if you know where to find it, you can find some great music from all over the world. What I heard was really interesting. I heard something yesterday, though. I read in a blog about how a young woman in the States was complaining there was a band that she loved from Finland. I don't remember the name of the band, but she tried to buy their music from iTunes in Finland, and iTunes in Finland said they're not released in the U.S., so we can't sell you the downloads. And I thought, wait a minute, that's not what the Internet is all about. That's what record companies used to do that. They didn't want to import records. Mm-hmm. But this was happening online, too, which I thought was really weird. Because to me, what I loved was the fact you could get things from everywhere.
Right.
So that was really, really cool. And now, you know, some of these sites made deals with the major labels who, I didn't believe, put in those restrictions, which is crazy. But the problem with a lot of things like downloads are one thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Napster changed everything, you know, so that changed the world for everyone. Mm-hmm. But streaming, you know, is a problem. And even one of the best ones now is Spotify, which is coming here from Europe. And you can either pay a monthly fee or get it with commercials. And they have a bigger catalog than, say, Pandora, and some cool stuff as well. Mm-hmm. So, but the problem is the artists really get the raw deal there that they don't get much by way of money.
Right.
So it's really hard for artists to make money off their music unless they perform or sell merchandise or do other things. I have a little problem with that.
So your view is that the Internet really does help by getting people's name out there, getting things out there, but on the money side of things, it just goes straight down the drain.
Yeah, it really does. And everybody says, well, it's great promotion. But the problem is if you're, you're John and you're the drummer in the band and you don't write the songs, but, you've been on all the albums and you worked the songs from day one and, your two other buddies, Jeannie and Billy are the writers, and you don't share in the publishing with them, you're not making anything when the music's, being streamed. Mm-hmm. The publisher makes something, but very little, only half a penny a play. But before you might have gotten a point or two on a record, and if the record sold 100,000 copies, which isn't a lot, with your major, it's almost nothing. But for an indie, that's substantial, right? Mm-hmm. You made some bucks. You made a few grand.
Right.
These days, you would get nothing. Mm-hmm. So that's not good. And what the industry is telling everybody is, well, it's all about the promotion. So you have to go out and tour and sell merch and do other things. Well, why should my creative work be worth nothing? Mm-hmm. That's my problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely see that there.
Well, we all got to figure out how to work together.
Right. Definitely.
And radio, the problem, though, is, a lot of commercial radio was controlled with a tight playlist. Mm-hmm. And the record companies were involved with the Abramses of the world or the Clear Channels, and they only played top 40 or, whatever the format was. And it was very hard for new music to break through. Mm-hmm. And luckily, some public radio, which I know people are really looking at public radio now a lot more, and I love public radio and public television myself, but as well as college radio and some great independents, and, there are some shows on the satellite radio networks and, and a few others pop out here and there, but there's been a lot of places where it's really hard for new music to break through. Mm-hmm. And so I think going back to the other question, I think the Internet helps there.
Oh, yeah.
It helps there. But then
definitely.
You need people that love music, and they
right.
don't just want to take what the reps want to ram down and say, this is what we're working this month, or week.
Yeah, of course. Of course, yeah. Play this one this week, play that one next week. And, a week is okay to get a couple spins maybe, but you got to give it a month in order to really know where it's going to go.
Is it hard from a radio station point of view right now with finding and being able to play great music? Is it very difficult? Are stations very controlling, or is it?
I can't really speak for our radio stations around here. I can't speak for the other college radio station, which is across the bridge from us. From our radio station, we're pretty free with what we get. Our regional manager has always said, I want stuff to be played that nobody else is going to hear otherwise.
That sounds like heaven. That's wonderful.
It is. It really is. And he gives my coworker and I a lot of freedom in that regard to, bring in artists and bring in music that people wouldn't really hear otherwise. We have a really big indie collection here and a really big local scene.
That's great. And now you're in you're in Wisconsin?
Yep, Superior, Wisconsin.
And where's that?
It is by Lake Superior, so it's the very tip of Wisconsin going north.
But it's got to be beautiful up there as well as a little cold in the winter, I bet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know Madison, and that was a very cool town. I used to love Madison. Madison's a great music town. Mm-hmm. And now that's got a same thing.
And right there, I actually lost Bob on his cell phone, and we're going to join him right back again here. So the interview is going to get a little choppy. My apologies for that one, but he has some good things to say in the next part. Enjoy.
When I was starting out, the only books that were out there were a couple books written by lawyers or executives that had no perspective and were hard to read. And this is in the words that this is written, basically like by you, for you.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay.
All right.
No, I think you'll enjoy it.
All right.
So all the best to you.